Okay, we're back. Part 2. Now we're having an evening lesson today, so this should be a little more invigorating than a morning lesson. So neighbors with the Ionian is the Lydian. They do not share notes in the modal cages that I have here. They certainly share notes with the C cage, not a whole lot of them, and probably the D cage over here too, but these two don't share notes. Okay, they do count though, root 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, so this string shape is the fourth of this string shape. So wherever you see a 4, you can build that string shape right there. Okay, now this is in the C box. We have an E-shaped fourth, we have the half diminished, and we have an A-shaped 1. Okay, so let's look at one that doesn't have the half diminished. Okay, I was going to try and look at one that didn't have a half diminished. Here we have the D box right here. So we've got D minor, and then we've got an A-shaped fifth, and then we have in the C box an A minor shaped sixth. Okay, that's all that is. So it'll help you. And then of course 1, 4, 5 in the D box is 1, 4, a G-shaped 4, and an A-shaped 5. Back to 1, D-shaped 1. So these give you a little more hint there, and we can get all 7 modals out of this too. Okay, and it involves keeping those arpeggios, those cage-bound arpeggios, in the box, and then seeing what chord shape we can recognize. All right, so that's how that works. We're not going to dabble with that because I don't have the information for that yet. I'm going to go through and get the whole thing. I have it for the regular cage system. So remember, with the regular cage system, in the C box, it's the easiest to get the modal chords. Okay. C shaped C, D minor shaped D minor, E minor shaped E minor, D minor shaped D minor, E minor shaped E minor. That's why it's so easy. E major shaped F, G major shaped G major, A minor shaped A minor, and then our half diminished chord. Here, if I could get something of it, you can call the shape whatever you want. It's kind of like a D minor with a 7 substituted for the 6th. So if we have our D minor here, and we decide we're going to substitute a 7th for that 6th, there it is. It's a D minor plus 7. Okay? And then back to C-shaped C. But in the A box, then we start counting up a pentatonic scale again. So we have A-shaped, an A-shaped C. The D minor is going to be what? What in a pentatonic scale? A goes to C, and we're going to have a C minor shaped D minor there. So in the A box here, we have our A-shaped C, 5 root 3, and then we're going to have a C minor shaped D minor, 6 root 3. Okay, right here it would start over here, 6 2. Sorry, C. That would be G shaped. 6 root 3 would be a G shape there. So 6 root 3 would be a G shaped A minor. Now that's interesting because if we're in the key of C and we go a caged letter from A, we've got a G shape there. So here's our G shape, 6 root 3. Because remember, when you're playing a G here, you've got, okay, but over here, you're going to be starting on in the A cage, you'll be starting on the 6th there, and you'll go, or minor. Okay, so it's a G minor shape, but it's following the cage system. So when you're on A shaped 1, okay, the 6th is going to be a caged a caged letter advance of that, caged being a decreasing pentatonic scale, so A goes to C minor shaped, right? Because it's a G shape rather for the A minor. Now for the second, we go increasing pentatonic, so from the A we go to a C minor shaped, 6, 2, 4, okay, and then we can go to the 6 up here, a big major third there. All right, so we'd start here on 6, 2, 4, okay, and then instead of taking it out of the modal A cage and going into the C cage for a D minor shaped D minor, as we talked about, we're going to do an on string major third. So we've got, all right, like there, and then start again up here, 2, and then we want what, a minor third, but that's going to be warped up for us, and then to the 6. Okay, so that's following the regular caged and pentatonic rule in the A minor system. Now I was looking at the modal here, and I should have had a fretboard up for the short patterns, because if we had a fretboard up for the short patterns, guess what? The A box in the short cage system actually does include these notes. So this is the A box in the short cage system. We start here on 5, 6. Okay, now if I just play a pentatonic 5, 6, root 2, 3, 5, 6, root 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, that gives us minors and majors. It gives us C major and it gives us A minor right there in the same pentatonic scale. So then we would be able to go 6, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. That would be a different arpeggio in the old cage system. Okay, so you just fit it into the new cage however you want to do it. That's an important rule. So you can do it both ways. Now let's look at what we got here. Additionally, to make the cages this small, I had to have a cutout. So we have 3, 4 going to 5, then we would normally go 6, 7 root, but we want to stay in the cage, so we have to cut out of the C string shape and go into the A long string shape. And it turns out that cutout happens in the C cage, also where we cut out of the A string shape and into the I guess it would be the E string shape there. So the cutout is always going to occur on the G string. Here's 1, root 2. We're not going to go to 3 because the double note's 3. So we're going to go root 2 to a C string shape. So how do we remember where this happens and what's going on? It's called the easy chord number system. Okay, so if we're looking at, now we got to kind of like juggle the fretboard and the information here, the table. So let's say we're going to do a root. Let's do C3, okay? Because I got the capo on the third here. So this is your C shape, C. Okay, so your C scale is going to be. That would be like basically a Phrygian kind of thing. Well, that's it. It's basically a diatonic scale, but it's starting on the position it is starting on the Phrygian third down here. So the rule is there's something called the easy chord. So if we look at the C3, that's where we are. 3, 4, 5 down here. Okay, The cutout pattern on the G string is going to be the A and the okay, so we're looking at the C3 string shape, the bottom string shape in the open C box, right? 3, 4, 5, okay, E becomes the third, F's the fourth, G's the fifth. Now, the G string is going to be only 5, 6. We're not going to hit the B up there because the B's up on the B string open. So we're going to use the E string shape there for that B, 7 root 2. Now, the rule that makes it easy is this. Down here we have an E minor, okay, we have the E minor shaped D minor. Remember, this is the C box. D minor shaped D minor. C major shaped C major. So we've got E minor shaped E minor, which is 3, 5, 7. So what we're going to do is play that 3, 5, 7, okay, and what it is we're gonna advance the chart here. Okay, so I'm going to show you this particular way, this chart I made, because we don't want to let charts go to waste. 332, modal caged string circles, easy chord shapes, B string, G string, and the bass string shape. Now let's look at that C we're on. Here it is. The magic chord, the easy chord is 3, 5, 7. Here's our box here. Alright? Here's our box here. This is the C box, and we're also involved with this green box here. So we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root, 2, 3, 4. Now the cutout's going to be 5, 6, and then 7 root 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and that keeps us in the modal C box. The trick is 3, 5, 7. That E minor here here's your 3, the 5's on the G string, and the 7 is on the B string. So no matter where you see a number, let's say on the D string we see a 2 there, you can do a D string shape, because the D string shape is 2, 3, 4. On the second string up, which is the 5th of C, we can do a G string shape, which is 6, 7 root. So G string shape 6, 7 root 2, 3, 4, and then we're just going to play the 5, 6 on the A5. So here's the starting string, here's the G string, and here's the B string, a 7 root 2, 7 root 2. So that's how we put it together. That's the gist of this particular chart. And in the G box, things would be starting on the G here. The G string would be an E root. Okay, so G starts on the G shape starts on the 6th. Why? Because when you play an open G, your low E becomes the 6th of that G. So we got G6 to E root on the G string, okay, G being the root in that case, the G note being